Over at the Metro UK earlier today, Greg Rusedski was quoted as saying that all of the pressure is on Novak Djokovic in the upcoming Federer-Djokovic ATP Finals clash. And there is a lot of pressure on Djokovic. This is a high-pressure situation for both players because it is essentially a quarterfinal for something that's more special than a Masters 1000 and less special than a Grand Slam major. So both of them are playing to make it to the Final Four or loser, go home. End your season. But as Greg Rusedski points out, let's quote him here, right here. Greg Rusedski's quoted as saying, all the pressure will be on Novak Djokovic because he's the one trying to end the year as the world number one. You would expect a much higher level from Federer in this match. And we should. Federer got a little bit better playing Matteo Berrettini, served a little bit better, but to beat Novak Djokovic, he's going to have to step it up even more, specifically, just like Rafa Nadal is dealing with the same thing, in the forehand department. Both Nadal and Federer hitting more unforced errors on their strength, their forehand, than winners throughout the tournament so far. So that's an issue. But for Novak Djokovic, I think Greg Rusedski does have a point here. Novak Djokovic is trying to be number one in the world, of course, has to win to do that. That's some pressure there. And he's also trying to equal the Federer record of winning this very tournament 6 times. Djokovic has got 5, Roger 6. And if Novak Djokovic is able to tie him and win this thing, be number one in the world on top of that, he'll have a chance in the future to take this record away from Roger Federer. Because let's face it, the guy is almost 40 years old. He's not going to be able to play this tournament too many times. So if you think about it like that, there's a lot of pressure on both of these players here. And if we're going to face the father time thing, let's face another thing. Look at the head-to-head. Roger Federer has not beat Novak Djokovic in exactly 4 years. Where was it? When was it? 4 years ago? It was right here in the group stages of the ATP Finals. Can Roger Federer do it again? Welcome to the Coffee Break Tennis Podcast, the special podcast edition of the show. We are very pleased and happy, thrilled, to be honest, to have you here with us. Today on the show, we will be talking about Sasha Zverev cannot play other next-gen players. I was a fool to predict that he would be able to beat Tsitsipas in a close match because Tsitsipas pretty much took him to beat down City. After seeing Sasha Zverev's win over Nadal, knowing that Sasha Zverev had beat all 3 of the big 3 back-to-back-to-back, going back to last year at this tournament, it was hard to pick against him. But it should never be hard to pick against Sasha Zverev when he's playing one of the other next-gen stars that he is competing with. Anyways, enough about that. We'll talk about that later. Plus, Rafa Nadal in an epic comeback. Was it more Nadal playing amazing and coming back like the Raging Bull, or was it more Medvedev having a colossal choke? We'll talk about that. And, of course, we'll look at the standings and where everything is right now. We'll talk about Tsitsipas and Dominic Thiem being the hottest players a little bit. But the main event tonight on the podcast, we're going to be talking about Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer, because that is the match that we all are so excited to see. It has always been the number one matchup to see at this tournament. This is the fastest court, or at least one of the fastest courts pretty much every year. And these are the guys who are the best indoor players for the last decade or so, decade and a half. Everyone wants to see Djokovic and Federer play here. Everyone hopes Nadal will do better than the previous year here, or heck, everybody hopes he will just show up and play here. But for the last decade and a half, the whole thing has been about Federer and Djokovic, and how fortunate for us that not only are we going to see them play, but we're going to see them play in a really important match for them. You know, both of them, neither one of them can afford to lose the match. So it's a real match, baby, and it's a chance for a rematch since one of the greatest matches of this decade at Wimbledon earlier this year, where Djokovic did not lose a tiebreak. Rock solid. Lost every set that wasn't a tiebreak, and did not lose any of the 3 first set, third set, or fifth set tiebreaks. So, unfortunately, for some reason, ATPTour.com, you can usually look at any match in history and check out the stats. That feature is crashed. It's not working. So we don't have the stats going back to 2015 ATP Finals. But I did watch some of the highlights, which you can only learn so much from the highlights because, you know, you're really only seeing 10 points out of like a 100-point match or however many points it was, you know. So you can't learn everything from there. But one thing that I noticed watching, so Federer, if you don't remember, 2015 ATP Finals, Federer grows like a beard. And that was a thing back then that people were buzzing about. But another thing, the more important thing, is Federer beats Djokovic in the round-robin stage, the group stage here. And then they go to the finals. Federer, I believe he beats Wawrinka in the semis, and maybe Djokovic beats Murray or somebody. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. They go to the finals after the Final Four semifinal knockout stage. And in the final, Federer loses straight sets, 6-3, 6-4. He had beat Djokovic 7-5, 6-2 in the group stages. Now, one of the things I noticed watching the highlights from these matches is that Federer did a great job pinning Djokovic into his backhand corner. And we see this a lot when Federer and Djokovic play. You'll see Federer will chip the ball low cross-court from his backhand to the Djokovic backhand and either get, make it kind of short and angled off the court, kind of like what you would do with a slice serve that lands short in the box on purpose, or he'd hit it a little deeper. But either way, he was trying to pull Djokovic wide to Djokovic's backhand side and get Djokovic down low. And then from that point, he's hoping there's something that's a little short, that sits up a little, that Federer can step in and just crush a cross-court forehand. And often you would see Federer come into the net behind this. In the highlights of the win, you see a lot of backhands up the line as well, because so frequently, if Djokovic is on his forehand side of the court, he's racing back to the backhand corner to defend because he's getting so much traffic in there, whether it's inside-out forehands from Federer, just grip and rip, or those probing, chipping, low slice backhands, and then backhand up the line winners you see from Federer. You see it in the final two, just not as many of them. So the backhand up the line is going to be key. And good news for Federer is the backhand up the line has looked pretty good throughout all of the indoor matches we've seen from Federer for the most part. Definitely when he played at Basel, Switzerland. Throughout so far, Federer's had, like I said, a problem for Federer and Nadal is lots of unforced errors on the forehand side and less winners than unforced errors. But one thing we do see with Federer is he's hitting more winners than unforced errors on the backhand side. So things are working pretty well on the backhand side. And like I said, the serve looked better. Or did I say that? I don't know. I think I said earlier. The serve looked better. He was hitting spots better than he did against Dominic Thiem, against Matteo Berrettini. Of course, Djokovic losing to Dominic Thiem, that's got to do something mentally to Federer, I think. Just a little bit. Just kind of make Federer feel like, all right, it's not just me. Dominic Thiem, he's playing quite a tournament here. And I heard the Tennis Channel commentators before the Tsitsipas-Sasha Zverev match talking today about saying something like, is this match Sasha Zverev beating Nadal here the way he did? He beat him pretty bad. And now he's lost just as badly to Tsitsipas. What does that do, huh? They're saying, does this match change things? Does this fix the year for Sasha Zverev? Does this mark the full comeback? Sasha Zverev is back, and the problems are over. But the truth is, if you've paid close attention to Zverev throughout the year, he's had plenty of moments where you could say, okay, he's turning it around. He's turning it around. And then he's had plenty of terrible results. I mean, remember, things were starting to look better for him before a bad loss at the U.S. Open. Constantly throughout the year, you could say, like, okay, he's starting to get it together again. It's looking good. And then some horrible result comes. It's happened a lot throughout the year. Anyways, so they were wondering, does this fix it? And I don't think so, because look what happened last year. If beating Nadal here could mean his whole year is fixed and he's back, what about winning it last year, the whole tournament? He won the whole thing, beating Federer and Djokovic. I mean, beating Nadal here is not as impressive as beating Federer or Djokovic here on the fast court with the low bounce that neutralizes the biggest weapon, the high of bouncing super blaster forehand of Nadal. He beat both of them. And then look what happened for the rest of the next year, this year. Same thing with Dimitrov. So I don't think so. But Dominic Thiem, on the other hand, I think you can say that winning here against Federer and Djokovic actually is a serious sign. People like to talk about when Stan Wawrinka had I think it was a fourth round of 16 Australian Open match the year before he won it for the first time, won his first major, and he almost beats Djokovic. They have a great, epic battle of a match. Djokovic ends up winning in the end, and people said like that was a turning point. That was the moment where Stan Wawrinka realized he could play with these guys, he can do it, and then he wins a few majors after that. And I feel like Dominic Thiem, what he's done here at the ATP Finals is more like that than maybe anything else we've seen in a while. Because Dominic Thiem, all of us have kind of written him off on other surfaces and said, he'll be your average top 10 guy, but he's not going to be super special there. But on slower surfaces and clay, we all give him a shot when Nadal is gone to eventually win the French Open. That's kind of been how a lot of people have thought about Dominic Thiem for a while. And seeing Dominic Thiem struggle so much in faster courts, to see him adapt his game the way he did and be able to take it to Djokovic like that, be able to beat Federer here as well, I think that you can't say enough about how incredible that is, because look at Nadal and how hard it has been for him to change his game here. And for Dominic Thiem to do it, I think be very optimistic on Dominic Thiem going into next year. Of course, if you're not one of the big three, it's hard to be very optimistic on anyone going into next year, especially based on what they've done at the World Tour Finals, or ATP Finals, as they call it now. Anyways, back to Djokovic and Federer. So one of the things we're going to have to look for tomorrow, it's all about first strike. And another thing you can see from looking at those two matches in 2015 is Roger Federer did a great job on the first strike type points. He got more quality serves in. On match point, Federer's serving, I think, to get to 5-all. Yeah, he's serving 4-5 when he loses 6-4 in the final of the 2015 ATP Finals. And he double faults. I think it was 30-40 or add out. Either one. Same thing. Same difference. He double faults there. If Roger Federer in the round robin stage, when he beats Djokovic, he's not going to throw in the double there. He's hitting a lot of quality second serves. It's so key, and Federer has really struggled to win points on second serve. Same with Nadal. Dominic Thiem has been the best at winning on second serve points. I'd say winning on first serve points, that's got to go to Tsitsipas now. Tsitsipas has looked unbelievable. He's basically untouchable on his first serve, and that's usually what we see from Roger Federer here. Tsitsipas, the most Fed-like of all the next-gen players, for sure. So very encouraging for the Tsitsipas fans to see that. Got to give Tsitsipas a chance to win this thing. He's got a shot. Anyways, Dominic Thiem has been able to protect the second serve very well, and Federer is going to have to do that against Djokovic, because that was the key. I think if you look at the stats, Djokovic against Dominic Thiem, what a match that was. I think he ended up winning a little bit more on first serve than Dominic Thiem. They were very close. All the numbers you look at were very close. The match was decided by, I think, 2 points. 2 points was the difference in the entire match. It was either 2 or 3. Dominic Thiem winning 2 or 3 more, one or the other. But Dominic Thiem definitely outdid Djokovic on the second serve win percentage. Not by a whole lot, but by enough, and that made all the difference in the world. I do think, like Greg Rosetsky said, I think there's pressure on Djokovic, and I also think losing the Dominic Thiem, maybe Djokovic is going to feel a little vulnerable coming into this thing. Because remember, Roger Federer, he hasn't won a tiebreak against Novak Djokovic. Forget a match. He hasn't won a tiebreak going back even further than those 18. Go back to 2015 Cincinnati. That was the last time Federer won a tiebreak against Djokovic. Now, of course, at Wimbledon, Federer able to beat Djokovic in any set that didn't go to a tiebreak. 3 tiebreaks Federer was not able to break through. Well, that tiebreak in the end of the match for Djokovic and Thiem, Djokovic had, I think it was a 4-1 lead. And, he had a major letdown in his game. So will he be able to go into a tiebreak? Because there's a good chance we see Djokovic and Federer in a tiebreak. As long as Federer serves well, hits spots, and doesn't hit a bunch of unforced errors in the forehand. That's going to be key. If Federer's forehand keeps misfiring like it has been, Djokovic wins in straight sets, I think. If Federer hits his spots, which I think he will, I think he's served enough here in 2 matches to come out hitting spots. And if the forehand's working, I give Federer a real chance to win this match. So going back to that tiebreak with Dominic Thiem, Djokovic looked shaky enough to me to where I wonder if we see Federer and Djokovic in a tiebreak, will it be more Federer thinking, oh, I haven't beat Djokovic in a tiebreak forever? I don't even think Federer is going to think that. I don't think Federer is aware that he hasn't beat a tiebreak in that long. But maybe Federer would think about Wimbledon. Will he think, oh, man, I couldn't win a tiebreak against this guy at Wimbledon. Here we go, another tiebreak. I'm screwed. Will he think that? Possibly it could enter his mind, but I think Federer shook off enough losses and bad things happening on court to where he can look past this. But will Djokovic be able to look past how he just kind of blew it against Dominic Thiem, 2 days ago? I think that would be more of a factor than what a lot of people would maybe expect. And Federer thinking, I can't beat this guy in a tiebreak after what happened at Wimbledon. So there's that. Real quick, let's take a look at the standings. Put this on the screen. Tsitsipas is now the king of this thing. He's got 4 sets and no sets lost, whereas Dominic Thiem 4-1. Well, Dominic Thiem had to beat Super Joker. I mean, Joker was playing pretty well. It was kind of interesting. It was like, well, not so much. With Medvedev and Nadal today, and a lot of credit to Nadal, I think Medvedev, he was in position to win this thing. And then Nadal was able to go a little bit more to what we saw in Paris. Nadal, I was impressed with Nadal in Paris because he was serving more aggressive and he was playing more first strike, fast court, indoor court tennis. And he looked like he got back to that in the second set, and then obviously he found it again in the third set when he was losing. But mainly in the third set, it felt more like Nadal just had to make the shots and ask the question, as they like to say in our great sport, tennis. Ask the question of Medvedev. And Medvedev, man, he collapsed. I think there was a good mix of things. Nadal putting a ton of pressure on him, and Medvedev, it's been a long year. Medvedev has played more than anybody on tour this year. So I think we're seeing a little bit of that. And again, like I was saying earlier on Tennis Channel, they were wondering, oh, does this have implications for the future on Zverev beating Nadal? Obviously, that was before they saw what Tsitsipas was about to do to him. That might have implications. I mean, Zverev does not like playing the other next-gen guys. I don't know. How could I overlook that? That's something I've been talking about all year. How could I overlook that and say, I think Zverev will win against Tsitsipas, even though I want to say Tsitsipas. Yeah, great job on that. Anyways, how can you overlook that? Will this have implications on Medvedev? I don't think so. I think Medvedev take the break, go into the ATP Cup if he's playing that, or now that Federer is out, who cares? I guess if you have Nadal and Djokovic play, we care. Anyways, Medvedev, go into next year and shake this off. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think he's played a lot of matches, and a break will do him well. So Medvedev is pretty much eliminated. He still got a chance at 0-2 because look at the one set. That's why it says eliminated by Berrettini. Didn't get a set. No chance. 12 games. Everyone else has got a fair bit more than 12 games won. But Medvedev, if he is able to beat Mr. Zverev, which why wouldn't he? I mean, other than he's just kind of worn out from being here. He's had enough losing maybe. And maybe he's kind of toast, checked out mentally. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see him bounce back. If he could get the win, and then Nadal loses to Tsitsipas, and Tsitsipas goes a perfect 3-0 in the group stages, then we would see this three-way tie where everyone is 1-2. And I believe Nadal and Zverev, they'd both need to lose in straight sets for Medvedev to be able to qualify then, because then we would see something where Medvedev is 3-4 on the sets win to loss, and Nadal would be 2-5. Zverev would be 2-4, and that would put Medvedev in the lead. I believe that's how that would shake out. And then we already know with Dominic Thiem that Matteo Berrettini is out no matter what. Is there a chance where Dominic Thiem is, well, yeah, it doesn't matter. So Djokovic and Federer, it all comes down to who wins that match. So there is your picture. It's a little interesting in the Andre Agassi group, I guess. I'm most interested in just seeing Tsitsipas is loving the fast and low bouncing court. I mean, obviously he had his biggest breakthrough last year at the Australian Open, which is the major that is most similar to this court. It's obviously a part of how Federer came back and won in 2017 and then able to repeat in 2018. So I'm very interested in that, and I'm very interested to see Tsitsipas keep going. Of course, Rafa Nadal never won this thing. Pretty interesting. If he can come through in straight sets over Tsitsipas, I believe that means he's in then. He's definitely in at that case. So big-time match that we're all going to want to see in a couple of days coming up. Of course, interested to see how Dominic Thiem can keep going. It will be interesting to see him tomorrow against Berrettini. Obviously, most people are going to kind of snooze on that match, and Djokovic and Federer is what everyone's going to be focused on. But like Dominic Thiem said in his press conference, he's going to try to keep the positive momentum going against Berrettini, which is key. Obviously, don't get injured. We have seen in the past in this tournament players who've already locked up their spot kind of not go all out in these matches and actually lose these dead matches that don't really mean too much. So, okay, something to see there. I think Dominic Thiem, a true professional, he'll go out there and put on a good show and, like you said, try to keep the momentum going. I like Tsitsipas over if he can beat Nadal and come through this thing unscathed. I really actually like Tsitsipas to win it all because he's loving this court. And the only thing I can see as a problem is if he has a low first serve in percentage day and has to rely on a lot of second serves, then I could see him losing to a few of these guys. Going back, final thing before we get out of here, comment below, who do you think's going to win tomorrow? Federer, Djokovic, and why? And like I said in the beginning of the show, Greg Rosetsky, all the pressure is on Djokovic. That's true, but time is ticking on Roger Federer. How many more chances will he have to play big matches at big tournaments against top players like Djokovic? Maybe there's more pressure on Federer in that regard, if you think about it like that. I mean, maybe for Federer, the rest of his career, you could argue, is going to be so much pressure because he's definitely, I don't care what Federer says, he wants to hold on to some of these records, preferably the one where he has the most majors. But even something like this, the ATP Finals. So it's tough to say who truly does have more pressure on them. But the bottom line here is this. At this tournament in particular, I feel like for Roger Federer, he is excited about this match because this is an opportunity for him to kind of cut loose and swing free. Because, yeah, he does want to hold on to the record here, but it's not going to be the kind of nerves that Roger would have felt serving with match points at Wimbledon. That was everything Federer wants out of this game right now. He wants to put up that buffer between him and Nadal and Djokovic and hold on to his GOAT record. That's his biggest thing. And at this tournament, it's nice, but it's not as important. And he does kind of go in as an underdog, and a lot of people expect, virtually everyone is going to expect Djokovic to win this thing, except for the diehard Federer fans who still think Federer is going to win every match, like me kind of. But I honestly, I'm no bias here. I really do think Federer is going to go into this thing able to swing freely and kind of savor this moment. Hit the music because we're getting out of here. I think Federer is going to savor this moment, thinking, I can just let it rip out here and really, take my best shot on this fast court, even though it's not as fast as it's been in the past. Well, it's still faster than a lot of other courts, and it's a very low bouncing court. And I think nothing's going to get high out of the strike zone for Federer. He's going to have a chance to light up a lot of balls and use his backhand slice and hopefully use some great serving. And obviously, I'm hoping for a Federer win here. Thank you for listening to the Coffee Break Tennis Podcast. Luck be with you, Federer fans out there. If you're a Joker face, thanks for being here and listening too. And, congrats to your guy for a great year. Obviously, no matter what has happened bad to Djokovic at some of these smaller tournaments, the Masters, the ATP Finals, he sure has shown up for the majors. So full credit to Djokovic on a great year. It's been a fun year for all of us here at Coffee Break Tennis, and it's exciting, if we get nothing else for the rest of the year, that we get to see Djokovic and Federer go at it one more time in an opportunity for a little revenge for those Fed fans. We'll be back tomorrow after the matches. If I have to teach, then it'll probably be a late podcast. If I don't have to teach tomorrow, we'll be in the video format. See you!